Hey, all right. Week 3, your first batch of assignments were due, the syllabus quiz and all that. So hopefully we are in a rhythm. You kind of know how this class goes. If you still feel like you're struggling to get in a rhythm to watch the lecture videos or things like that, reach out to me. Seriously, you're not bothering me. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help right now. That's the best time to do this because it's still early in the semester. If you struggle to the very end of the semester, it's kind of hard to do too much at that point. But if I can do anything to help right now, please feel free to let me know. This week, so a couple things. Number one, I should have had this earlier. Our first lab where you're going to need your lab manual is this Wednesday. So if you have not bought the lab manual, you've got to have that by the time we meet Wednesday, just in case you need to see what that looks like. This is from Gadsden State. So if you'll go to our bookstore, tell them that you're taking Biology 103 in person, or you can tell them hybrid. They'll know that that's the lab manual that you need. All right. If they try to sell you a lab kit, those are for the online classes. You don't need that. You need the lab manual instead. So make sure that you have that by Wednesday. Remember, there are pages that you're going to write in and rip out and turn in for me to grade. So if you don't have that lab book, I don't have anything to grade and give you points for. So just make sure that you've got that. This one is going to be on the microscope. So we're going to take a whole lab just to make sure, number one, we know how to use a microscope, learn the parts of it, learn how to operate it. And then number two, the reason we're doing that is that most of the labs, or probably about half of the labs that you have this semester, you're going to have to know how to do a microscope. That can be kind of frustrating, especially if you've never had a science class before that uses those. So we're going to make sure we're really comfortable with microscopes so that later on in the semester will make sense and everything will run kind of smoothly. All right? We get to look at some really gross organisms that are in pond water too, so that's kind of fun. So that's what we're going to be doing in person. Now, on your own at home, whenever, you don't have to wait until after we meet. You can do this early in the week if you want to. You need to watch chapter 2, which is on chemistry. Now, I know this is a biology class. Why are we dealing with a totally other topic, a totally other branch of science? The reason is there are chemical reactions that take place in living organisms, like they're chemical reactions that take place in your body all the time. So we have to know just a little bit about chemistry so that that will make sense. And later on in the semester, when we start talking about some of the stuff that your cells do, we'll understand what we're talking about because we've already got like a foundation of chemistry. All right? If chemistry scares you, I spent 1 year of my life teaching 7th and 8th grade science, and it was miserable, and I will never do that again. But the type of chemistry that we're doing in this class is at that level. This is not like super detailed. We're not balancing equations or anything like that. This is just kind of basic chemistry so that we can understand some of the other stuff we talk about later in here. All right, so once you have watched that chemistry lecture video, or there's several parts, you've got a review quiz, which is due at the time of our first test. So that's coming up next week. You've got to do that review quiz by September 14th. Just a reminder, if you are new in the class or just if you need a reminder, every week that we've got a lecture, you're going to have review quizzes, and those are going to be open until the test. So your first test is next week on the 14th at 1 o'clock. You've got until then to do those review quizzes, but please don't put that off. Go ahead and take those so that you can kind of have an understanding of where you're at in the class and how well you know the material. But just in case you do need that time, I'm going to leave those open until the test. All right? If you have any questions about anything, let me know. Just 2 quick reminders. I already mentioned that the test is next Wednesday, so that's coming up. So if you haven't started studying yet, make sure that you do that. Remember, if you go to the Learning Materials tab on the left, click on that Unit 1 folder, and down at the bottom there's a study guide. So that's going to be helpful to help you study. And then number 2, I mentioned this on the first day that we met, but every week that we have a test, I'm going to have an optional review day. So that's not this week, but next Monday. That would be September the 12th. Monday, September the 12th at 1 o'clock. If you want to come up to, we're going to be in the room right next door to our lab. We're going to have a review day. I'll tell you all this when we meet this week in class, but just like if you're trying to make a schedule or whatever, next Monday at 1 o'clock we will have an optional review day that you don't have to go to, but I think it'll be really helpful. I will buy donuts too, because that's an excuse for me to eat donuts. I can say they're not all for me. All right, if you need anything, let me know. Thanks.